and we're going to jump right into our next presentation, which is from the Encana Principal Award winner. Geoffrey Auchinleck has 30 years experience in the medical device field. He was part of the Vancouver-based team that built and tested the world's first robot specifically designed to assist in surgery. Then he went on to develop a number of other surgical technologies. In 1997, Geoff co-founded Neoteric Technology, which developed and commercialized technologies for ensuring the correct storage, tracking, handling, and administration of blood for transfusion in hospitals. And this technology is now in daily use in hospitals in the UK, the EU, Canada, the United States, and Australia. Geoff has served as chair at the Medical Device Development Center in Vancouver for more than 20 years. This is a not-for-profit incubator promoting the commercial development of new medical devices. So please welcome the 2012 Encana Principal Award winner, Geoffrey Auchinleck.
Well, good morning, everybody. I'm painfully aware that I stand between you and lunch, so I will try to keep this at least interesting, if not on time. First, I just wanted to open up by commenting on my question and comment from this morning about government funding. I will emphasize that I don't believe government funding is a barrier to innovation, but it sure as heck helps accelerate things. That was sort of my point, that it's, you know, the statement this morning from one of the panel members was that Canada is in 14th place now in terms of percent of GDP that we invest in research and development and the like. I have also heard it said, to put it bluntly, that Canada is crap at innovation. That's absolute nonsense. And the reason I say that is that I asked the panelists this morning whether their innovations and their companies would succeed without government funding. The answer unanimously was yes, because our innovations are really very good. So I don't think the problem is the quality of our innovation in Canada. The problem is our quantity. We're not doing enough of it. So I really have to ask why. Why are we not doing enough, particularly given what Canada is and where we stand right now? And those of you who were at the Manning Awards last night would have heard me say this, and I will say it as many times as I please. I believe that Canadians are among the healthiest, wealthiest, best educated, best informed people in human history. We're also living at a time where the power of our technology far outstrips our imagination. What excuse do we have for not taking the risk to innovate in Canada? What excuse do we have for not trying out new ideas? After all, you know, we turn a tap, we get more water than we can drink. We walk down to the corner, we can buy more food than we actually need, and we do on a regular basis. I can go down to one of the cafes that were talked about today. I can plug into free internet. I can plug into an electrical outlet because electricity is so cheap, it's not worth the while of the coffee shop to charge you to plug your laptop in. We have it so good here. We have so many opportunities to actually try something new with very little real risk. We should be doing more. I think we actually have a responsibility. Not just an opportunity, but a responsibility to be world leaders in trying new things socially and in business and culturally that other countries and other places can't afford. I hate to break it to you, but everybody here in this country, everybody here in this place, you are the 1%. We are the 1% who are so lucky to live in a place like this. I had lunch with the Speaker of the Senate yesterday, and I gave him my little pitch there about healthiest, wealthiest. And he said, you forgot one other thing. We're also the freest country in the world. Nothing stops us from doing these things and changing. So why aren't we doing it? Why aren't we doing more of it? Well, I have to say, I don't think the world is perfect. I think there's some wicked problems out there. I love that term. There are worthwhile problems, problems that are worth solving. There are problems that are important to solve, that we need to solve. And you know what? We have an opportunity to do something about it. And I think we should be doing more about it. So if not you, then who? And if not now, then when? That's the end of my rant. Now I'm going to tell you a few stories about the background of what Lynn Sharman and I did with the blood track. So I'll start with, if not now, then when? The biggest, stupidest, dumbest mistake I've made in my career was waiting until I was 39 years old before I started my own company. This is addressing your point. What the heck was I waiting for? I had every opportunity to get out there and do something I wanted to do, a job that I enjoyed, to Lynn's point. Not work for somebody else for going, you know, I don't think this is a really great idea. I could do this better. Well, what was I waiting for? Was I waiting for permission? Okay, if I was waiting for permission, if anyone in this room is waiting for permission to go out and try something new, I grant you permission. You have my authority vested in me by the Manning Foundation. Go out and innovate. I'll let you do it. Well, maybe it's not permission you're waiting for. Maybe you're waiting for the right idea to come along. Well, if you wait for the right idea to come along, you'll be waiting a long time. You actually have to go out and look for the problem to solve. And, you know, they're not hard to find. But guess what? I screwed that up, too. Well, I'll let Lynn on this. We both screwed this one up, didn't we, Lynn? When we started Neoteric, we came up with this wonderful invention we thought was a really great idea, and we went out and flogged it all over the place. And only due to the fact that Lynn can sell anything to anyone did we actually sell a few copies of this wonderful idea that we'd come up with. But one day, one customer said, yeah, that's all well and good, but over here I have a refrigerator full of transfusion blood. It's allocated for various patients in this hospital, and that blood just disappears. People are supposed to sign a logbook and let me know where it went and when it went and who took it. But you know what? It's illegible, or they don't do it, or something like that. If you could do something about that, I'd be really interested. That was the seed that created our entire business and turned it into a worldwide business. Actually listening to somebody who's facing day-to-day a problem, understanding that problem deeply, and addressing the real issue. Go look for the problems. They're out there. And they're easy to find. Just ask. What's the worst thing you have to deal with each day? What's your biggest problem you face each day? People will be glad to share their problems with you. Now you've got an opportunity to do something. So that's the when, and that's the what you should do. So now I want to tell you a little bit about how we did it. And this is a story that I just think exemplifies something that I didn't really appreciate until I tried starting my own business, and I've now come to realize is so fundamentally true. Back in 1997, Lynn Sharman and I worked for a company in Vancouver that was owned by MDS. You've heard about MDS this morning. Used to own Nordium as well. MDS had decided that they were going to consolidate operations in this particular business area we were in Toronto. Now let me explain something. I'm a fifth-generation British Columbian. I have cedar and salt water in my veins. I am not about to move to Mississauga. I mean, this is not going to happen. So I'm suddenly faced with the fact that after 14 years, the company I'm working with is leaving me, and I don't want to go with them. So what did I do? I got on a plane and I flew to Ontario. I went into the head office of MDS, walked on to Executive Row, and I mean, Executive Row was really something. This is a billion-dollar company by this time, okay? It's a big, successful company. Mahogany offices. All the offices are guarded by a rather fierce-looking executive assistants whose job it is to keep people like me out of there, okay? And I marched into the office of a guy named Doug Phillips, who was the chief financial officer of MDS and one of the founders of MDS. And I screwed up my courage, sweat pouring down my back, shaking in my boots. And I went up to him and I said, you have a real problem here, because I have 14 years seniority in this company, and I'm not coming to Mississauga, no way. You're going to have to pay a big severance package here, but I've got a deal for you. Now, you know, I'm pretending I'm really confident and, you know, got this deal for him. I said, there's a couple of projects we were working on in Vancouver that I know MDS is not interested in pursuing. I'd like to spin those out into my own company, and rather than taking a severance package, I'd like MDS to invest in that new company. Now, you can imagine, I'm a little nervous at this point. I can see that they're one of many different outcomes that could occur here. What kind of response I might get from this guy, including calling security and having me removed from the building. But what happened was remarkable. Well, actually, it wasn't remarkable. I thought it was. Doug Phillips leaned back in his chair, put his hands behind his head, and said, I love entrepreneurs. He says, I remember back when we started MDS, I had to go to the bank every Friday and beg for an extension to the credit line so I could pay payroll. And we had another guy years ago that had this idea, and we helped him get started. He's a millionaire now. And leans forward and he says, how much do you need? Now, I had not planned for this outcome. So I said, $60,000, which I thought was a ridiculous amount of money. Doug Phillips put $60,000 into Neoteric as part of my severance package and took absolutely no equity. Nothing. He just gave me the money and said, good luck to you. Now, ironically, he came down with a blood malignancy within a year of that time. He was 64 years old, was about to retire. That disease required him to get blood transfusions every week. he did not live long enough to realize that he had created the world's most advanced blood transfusion management system. But we owe that to him. It's a remarkable story. But, as I said, it turned out it wasn't quite so remarkable, because after that, I started to deal with a lot of other entrepreneurs and successful innovators, and I discovered something in common. They want you to succeed. If they fought the battle themselves and won, they want you to succeed. They have an attitude that might surprise you because they're often very successful. They have a lot of money, all those big corporate things. They don't think that innovation is a zero-sum game, and I don't either. Innovation is not a zero-sum game, by definition. They're not interested in a bigger slice of the pie. They're interested in having a hell of a lot more pies made. That's what innovation is all about, creating more pie for everybody, so we can all have more wealth, the rising tide that floats the boats and gives us opportunities to be concerned about socially responsible investing, because we have enough wealth that we're not going to starve. If we fall off the stage, the healthcare system in this country will look after us quite adequately, despite its occasional problems. Yeah. Things are pretty darn good. So the whole idea here is that people like me who've had a success, in the last few years, I've mentored over 30 companies, 30 startup companies. And do you know what I charge for it? It's actually very profitable for me, come to think of it. I charge 1 cup of coffee per session. The price of coffee in some of the stores now, I mean, I think I'm doing pretty well here. Right. Anyway. I'll just end with a quote from Steve Jobs, who's been mentioned already once today. He said that, remember that everything we call life, everything that's around us, was made up by somebody no smarter than you. There's no reason why you can't change it if you don't like what you see. So get started, ask for help, and change the world. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jeff. Now, I don't know if you wanted to answer any questions or if anybody has any questions, but we do have a couple minutes left, so if you did want to address a question to Jeff, we have time for maybe 1 or 2.
That was easy.
Yeah, there's a question right over there. If we can get a microphone over to you quickly. Okay, so the question is, what kind of obstacles do you face when you come up with a creative new idea, because in the face of the establishment, basically? Yeah. Okay, go ahead.
Well, that's an excellent and fundamental question. I love quoting Machiavelli's comment about nothing is harder to achieve than innovation, because those who would have it give it lukewarm support, while those who oppose it will oppose it with vigor. Right? So it's always fun. It's difficult. Innovation is hard. You know, the Manning Foundation talks about the stamina to succeed. You have to fight in the battles. But remember what I said at the beginning, that if you start the process by talking to your target customer, say if it's a product, understanding their problem and delivering something to them that solves their problem, they will be willing to accept it. You have to understand that the purpose of business is not to make a profit solely for the company. I think most people miss this, and it just is so fundamental, it drives me crazy. The purpose of a business is to engage in mutually profitable trade. The business makes some money, but you save time or effort. We give you something that you see as delivering value to you. That's the purpose of a business exchange. So if you get that formula right, people will accept what you're trying to do because they see the value in it for themselves. If you haven't got that right, you don't actually have a business. If you're trying to build a business that has only the purpose of making money for yourself, you don't have a business.
Okay, thank you again, Geoffrey Auchinleck.